Godfrey Bloom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Praet, in the beginning we had the Maastricht Treaty, we had the currency criteria for those who joined or could join at that time. Fascinatingly, it was torn up in virtually minutes. It was got rid of in virtually minutes. We now have secondary purchase, the purchase of sovereign debt in the secondary market, which is arguably subprime sovereign debt, which is clearly against the spirit of the Maastricht Treaty. And yet the Maastricht Treaty is cited as being the, if you will, the electoral mandate to act, that the fact that governments had signed the Maastricht Treaty, which of course is now completely and totally defunct. Will you really not admit, even to yourself, that the currency experiment has failed, as it was bound to do, and tell us your plan B, if indeed, sir, you have a plan B?
Let me say the following about the non-conventional measures that central banks have been taken all over the world. Not only in the Eurozone, and if you look at the evidence, you will see that the balance sheets of some central banks has really grown enormously. And if you look at the asset side of these balance sheets, you see, let's look at the United States, you will see massive direct purchase on the secondary market usually of structured products and residential related. I know your question goes on the Eurozone, but I just want to put in perspective that we had this huge financial crisis, and you have some of the central banks, and fortunately not the ECB. Several central banks have been key buyers on the secondary market of private sector issued paper with very difficult to price products. Now it is clear, as you in your intervention, that for a very limited part of the balance sheet of the ECB, because the rest of the increase of the balance sheet of the ECB is lending to financial institutions against collateral. For a big part of most of the increase of balance sheet, which is not the same of the Bank of England or not the same as the US Fed, for example, if you compare. So I'm very happy that we have not been pushed in the Eurozone in that direction, very much happy. Now, of course, for this more little part that you mentioned, the idea was, of course, that in a monetary policy, in a single monetary policy zone, you had what we call the transmission mechanism, which was impaired. So when you set the interest rate, you have to see how this interest rate passes through in all the system. And it is true that this transmission mechanism for several countries did not function. That explained the temporary intervention of the central bank. And that's why we have, I refer to the previous question of I know his first name, not is Udo here, that it is of key importance for the ECB that the European Stability Mechanism be developed. And also when you look at the individual countries that are concerned, that they finalize, the restructuration programs. But I still want to insist that when you look at these operations, of course there are risks related to these operations. I would say that the risk on the balance sheets are in perspective very limited, and these programs are of a temporary nature. The pressure, of course, of my colleagues from the ECB in relation to the ECOFIN discussions of the other day are related to precisely the question you asked.
Thank you very much.